The story of a single garage builder standing in the shadow of some of the biggest car companies in the world sounds almost unbelievable, but that is exactly why it has captured so much attention online. At the center of the story is Mat Armstrong, a YouTuber who built his name by taking damaged, written-off supercars and bringing them back to life step by step on camera. His videos are not just about fixing cars. They show the full process, including mistakes, costs, and unexpected problems. This honesty is what made people trust him and follow his journey. Over time, his content grew from simple car repairs to high-stakes rebuilds involving rare and expensive machines. When he started working on cars that most people would never even see in real life, like hypercars and high-end supercars, his channel reached a whole new level. People were not just watching for entertainment anymore. They were learning how these cars are built and repaired. That is where things started to get interesting. When a person with a camera begins to show the inner workings of machines that are usually kept behind closed doors, it can create tension. Big brands often build their reputation on exclusivity, mystery, and control. They want their cars to feel special, rare, and difficult to access. But when someone like Matt shows that these cars can be taken apart and rebuilt in a regular garage, it changes how people see them. Suddenly, the gap between the average person and a multi-million-dollar car does not seem as large. This shift in perception is powerful. It makes people question prices, repair costs, and even the need for official service networks. While Matt's goal may simply be to build and share, the impact of his work goes much further. It opens up conversations about ownership, repair rights, and how much control manufacturers should have over their products after they are sold. This is the foundation of the entire situation, and it helps explain why his work has drawn so much attention from both fans and critics. To understand why this situation became so big, it is important to look at how Mat Armstrong built his reputation in the first place. He did not start with expensive cars or a large audience. Like many creators, he began with basic content and slowly improved over time. His breakthrough came when he focused on rebuilding crashed cars that insurance companies had declared total losses. These vehicles were often sold at auctions for a fraction of their original price because they were considered too damaged to repair. For most people, these cars were nothing more than scrap, but for Matt, they were opportunities. He saw potential where others saw risk. By carefully documenting each rebuild, he gave viewers a behind-the-scenes look at the process. People could see how parts were sourced, how problems were solved, and how much effort it really took to bring a car back to life. This transparency made his content different from traditional car shows, which often skip the difficult parts and only show the final result. As his skills improved, so did the scale of his projects. He moved from common performance cars to high-end supercars, and eventually to extremely rare models that few would ever attempt to repair. This progression kept his audience engaged and excited. Each new project felt bigger and more challenging than the last. His growing popularity also meant that his work reached a wider audience, including industry professionals and car enthusiasts around the world. With millions of viewers watching his videos, his influence became impossible to ignore. He was no longer just a hobbyist. He had become a major voice in the car community. This level of attention can be both a blessing and a challenge. On one hand, it brings opportunities and support. On the other hand, it puts a spotlight on everything you do, including areas that others might not want to be highlighted. In Matt's case, his openness about sourcing parts and rebuilding complex cars raised questions about how the system works behind the scenes. The situation reached a new level when Matt took on one of the most ambitious projects of his career, rebuilding a heavily damaged hypercar. This was not just another repair job. The car had suffered serious structural damage and was considered beyond saving by many experts. Normally, vehicles like this are either scrapped or handled by specialized teams with direct support from the manufacturer. Attempting such a rebuild in a private garage was seen as extremely risky. However, this is exactly what made the project so compelling to viewers. People wanted to see if it was even possible. As the series progressed, each episode revealed new challenges, from sourcing rare components to dealing with complex engineering issues. The level of detail involved in the rebuild showed just how advanced these cars are. At the same time, it also showed that with enough skill and determination, even the most complicated machines could be understood and repaired. This idea is both inspiring and controversial. For fans, it proves that passion and knowledge can overcome barriers. For manufacturers, it raises concerns about safety, quality, and brand image. High-end car companies invest heavily in research, design, and testing to ensure their vehicles meet strict standards. They also rely on controlled service networks to maintain those standards after the car is sold. When someone outside that network rebuilds a car and shares the process publicly, it can challenge a perception that only official channels are capable of handling such work. This does not mean the manufacturers are wrong to be cautious. Safety is a real concern, especially with vehicles that operate at extreme speeds and use advanced materials. However, it also highlights a larger issue. Who has the right to repair a product once it has been sold? This question is not limited to cars. It applies to many industries where companies try to maintain control over repairs and parts. In this case, the visibility of the project turned a technical challenge into a broader discussion about ownership and independence. As the rebuild gained more attention, discussions around parts sourcing became more intense. One of the key aspects of Mat's work is finding the components needed to complete his projects. In many cases, these parts come from salvage auctions, independent suppliers, or networks that specialize in used components. This approach is common in the rebuild community, where access to affordable parts is essential. However, for manufacturers, this can be a sensitive area. Many high-end brands prefer to keep their parts distribution tightly controlled. They argue that this ensures quality, safety, and proper installation. From their perspective, allowing parts to circulate freely outside official channels can create risks. For example, a part that looks fine on the surface might have hidden damage from a previous crash. Without proper testing and certification, it could fail under stress. These concerns are valid, but they also highlight the difference between corporate control and independent repair practices. For builders like Mat, working with available parts is part of the challenge. It requires knowledge, experience, and careful inspection to determine what can be used safely. His videos often show this decision-making process, giving viewers insight into how these choices are made. This transparency can be both educational and controversial. On one hand, it helps people understand the realities of car rebuilding. On the other hand, it exposes a system that is usually hidden from public view. The more people learn about how parts are sourced and used, the more they question why certain restrictions exist. This does not mean all restrictions are unnecessary, but it does encourage a more open conversation about how the industry operates. In the end, the debate is not just about one builder or one project. It is about how much control manufacturers should have over the life cycle of their products and how independent creators fit into that system. Beyond the technical and legal discussions, there is also a strong emotional element to this story. People are naturally drawn to underdog narratives, where an individual takes on a much larger opponent. In this case, the idea of a single creator working in a garage while major companies operate with vast resources creates a powerful contrast. It is easy for audiences to connect with the individual and see him as a symbol of creativity and determination. This does not mean the situation is as simple as good versus bad. Large manufacturers have responsibilities that go beyond building cars. They must consider safety regulations, brand reputation, and customer expectations. At the same time, independent builders bring innovation and transparency that can benefit the wider community. The interaction between these two sides is complex and often misunderstood. Social media plays a big role in shaping how this story is perceived. Platforms like YouTube allow creators to share their perspective directly with millions of viewers. This creates a strong connection between creator and the audience. When challenges or conflict arise, viewers often support the person they feel they know and trust. This can amplify the situation and make it seem larger than it might be behind the scenes. However, it also highlights the power of modern media. A single video can influence opinions, start discussions, and even bring attention to issues that were previously ignored. In this case, the attention has gone beyond entertainment and into areas like consumer rights and industry practices. It shows how content creation can have real-world impact, even when the original goal was simply to share a passion for cars. Looking at the bigger picture, this entire situation raises important questions about the future of the automotive industry. Technology is advancing quickly, and cars are becoming more complex with each new generation. This makes repairs more challenging and increases the need for specialized knowledge. At the same time, there's a growing movement supporting the right to repair. Many people believe that once they purchase a product, they should have the freedom to fix it or modify it as they see fit. This idea is gaining support in different parts of the world and is influencing how laws and regulations are developed. The work of creators like Mat Armstrong brings this issue into the spotlight. By showing what is possible outside traditional systems, they challenge existing ideas and encourage change. This does not mean that all independent repairs are perfect or that all manufacturer restrictions are unnecessary. The truth lies somewhere in between. There needs to be a balance between safety, quality, and freedom. As the industry evolves, finding that balance will become increasingly important. For now, the story continues to develop. Projects are still being completed. Videos are still being uploaded, and audiences are still watching. Whether the situation leads to major changes or remains a unique case, it has already made an impact. It has shown that knowledge and determination can push boundaries and start conversations that reach far beyond a single garage. As the attention around these rebuild projects continued to grow, the conversation slowly shifted from just one creator to the entire ecosystem around car repairs and salvage vehicles. Many people who had never thought about how damaged cars are handled suddenly became curious. What happens after a car is written off? Who decides whether it can be repaired or not? And why are some parts easy to find while others seem almost impossible to get? These questions started to appear more frequently in comment sections, forums, and discussions across social media. The visibility of detailed rebuild videos made it clear that there's a large and active network of buyers, sellers, and specialists working behind the scenes. Salvage auctions, independent parts dealers, and skilled mechanics all play a role in bringing damaged vehicles back to life. For years, this world operated quietly, mostly known professionals and enthusiasts. But now, it is being exposed to a much wider audience. This exposure has both positive and negative effects. On the positive side, it helps people understand that a total loss does not always mean the end of a car's life. With the right skills and resources, many vehicles can be repaired and returned to the road. This can reduce waste and give cars a second chance. On the negative side, it also raises concerns about quality control and safety. Not every rebuild is done with the same level of care, and not every buyer understands the history of a repaired car. This is where clear communication becomes important. When builders openly share what has been done and what challenges were faced, it builds trust. It allows viewers and potential buyers to make informed decisions. In this way, transparency becomes a key part of the process. The more people understand how rebuilds work, the more they can appreciate the effort involved while also being aware of the risks. Another important part of the story is how it has influenced other creators and the wider car community. When one person achieves success by doing something unique, it often inspires others to try similar approaches. In the case of rebuild content, many new channels have started to explore the style of storytelling. Some focus on budget projects, while others aim for high-end cars. The common thread is a desire to show the process in a real and honest way. This has created a new category of automotive content that blends education with entertainment. Viewers are not just watching for fun. They are learning practical skills and gaining insight into how complex machines work. This shift has changed expectations. People now want to see more than just the finished product. They want to understand how it was built, what problems were faced, and how those problems were solved. For traditional media and even manufacturers, this presents a challenge. The old approach is showing only polished. Perfect results may not be enough anymore. Audiences value authenticity, even if it means showing mistakes and imperfections. This change in viewer preference is significant because it influences how content is created across the industry. It also affects how brands communicate with their audience. Some companies have started to embrace this trend by offering more behind-the-scenes content and being more open about their processes. Others remain more controlled, focusing on maintaining a certain image. The difference in these approaches can shape how people perceive each brand. In this environment, creators who are willing to share openly have a unique advantage. They can build strong connections with their audience by being relatable and transparent. This is one of the key reasons why rebuild content has become so popular and why it continues to grow. While much of the discussion focuses on creativity and independence, it is also important to consider the technical challenges involved in rebuilding modern supercars. These vehicles are not like older cars that rely mostly on mechanical systems. Today's high-performance cars use advanced electronics, complex software, and highly specialized materials. Carbon fiber structures, hybrid systems, and computer control components all add layers of difficulty to any repair. Even something as simple as replacing a part can require programming and calibration to ensure everything works correctly. This level of complexity is one of the reasons manufacturers prefer repairs to be handled within their official networks. They have access to the tools, data, and training needed to work on these systems safely. For independent builders, overcoming these challenges requires a combination of research, experience, and creativity. They often need to find alternative solutions when official support is not available. This might involve sourcing used parts, adapting components, or learning how to work with systems that are not fully documented. It is not an easy process and involves a significant amount of risk. However, it also demonstrates the depth of skill within the independent repair community. When viewers see these challenges being tackled step by step, it changes their understanding of what is possible. It shows that with enough dedication, even the most complex problems can be approached in a practical way. At the same time, it highlights the importance of responsibility. Working on high-performance vehicles requires careful attention to detail and a strong focus on safety. The goal is not just to make the car run, but to ensure it performs reliably under real-world conditions. This balance between innovation and responsibility is a key part of the ongoing conversation. As the story continues to develop, it becomes clear that the relationship between independent creators and large manufacturers is evolving. In the past, these two groups operated in very different spaces with little interaction. Manufacturers focused on designing, producing, and selling vehicles, while independent builders worked on repairs and modifications after the fact. Now, the line between these roles is becoming less clear. Content creators have the ability to reach large audiences and influence how people think about cars. This gives them a level of visibility that was not possible before. For manufacturers, this can be both an opportunity and a challenge. On one hand, it provides free exposure and keeps their products in the public eye. On the other hand, it means less control over how their brand is presented. When a rebuild project goes viral, it can shape public opinion in ways that are difficult to predict. This is why communication between these groups is becoming more important. Instead of seeing each other's opponents, there may be opportunities for collaboration. Some brands have already started working with creators to showcase their products in a more open and engaging way. Others are still cautious, preferring to maintain strict control over their image. The outcome of the situation will likely influence how the industry moves forward. If a balance can be found, it could lead to a more open and innovative environment where both sides benefit. If not, the tension may continue, with each side trying to protect its own interests. Either way, the impact of this story is already being felt, and will likely continue to shape discussions in the automotive world for years to come. As more people began to follow these rebuild stories, another layer of the discussion started to appear, and that was the role of regulation and government oversight. When cars are repaired after major accidents, there are rules in place to ensure they are safe to drive again. These rules can vary from country to country, but the main goal is always the same: to protect drivers, passengers, and everyone else on the road. In many places, a car that has been declared a total loss must go through inspections before it can legally return to use. These inspections check structural integrity, safety systems, and overall condition. For independent builders, this process is an important part of proving that their work meets required standards. In the case of high-end and performance cars, the expectations can be even higher because of the speeds and forces involved. This is where some of the tension between builders and manufacturers can come into focus. Manufacturers often argue that their vehicles require specialized knowledge and tools to be repaired correctly, while independent builders believe that with enough skill and care, they can achieve similar results. Regulators sit in the middle of this debate, try to ensure safety without limiting fair competition. The increased attention on rebuild projects has made these issues more visible. It has also encouraged discussions about whether current regulations are sufficient or need to be updated. As technology continues to evolve, laws may need to adapt to address new challenges. This includes questions about software data access and how modern systems are verified after repairs. For now, the existing framework allows rebuild to take place as long as they meet certain criteria, but the conversation about future changes is ongoing. This makes the situation dynamic, with potential developments that could affect both independent builders and large manufacturers in different ways. In the end, what makes this entire story so compelling is not just the cars or the technical challenges, but the bigger idea behind it. It represents a shift in how knowledge is shared and how industries are influenced. A few years ago, most people would never have seen the inside of a high-end supercar, let alone understood how it is repaired. Today, millions of viewers can watch every step of that process from their own homes. This level of access changes expectations. People begin to ask more questions, seek more transparency, and expect more openness in the companies they support. At the same time, creators gain more responsibility because their work can influence how others think and act. The balance between entertainment and accuracy becomes important, especially when dealing with complex and potentially risky topics. The story of Mat Armstrong and similar creators shows how powerful this new form of media can be. It is not just about building cars. It is about building understanding. It connects people with ideas they might not have considered before, such as ownership rights, repair freedom, and the true cost of maintaining advanced machines. As this type of content continues to grow, it will likely play a bigger role in shaping the future of the automotive world. Whether through inspiring new builders, influencing regulations, or encouraging companies to be more open, its impact is already clear. What started as a simple garage project has turned into a much larger conversation, one that goes beyond any single car or creator, and speaks to the changing relationship between technology, business, and the people who use it. As this entire discussion spreads further across the internet, it also starts to reveal something deeper about how modern audiences consume information. People today are not just passive viewers. They are active participants in shaping narratives. When a video goes viral, it is not only because of the content itself, but also because of how audiences react, share, and discuss it. In the case of high-end car rebuilds, viewers often form strong opinions about who is right and who is wrong. Some support the independent builders because they see them as hard-working individuals challenging a powerful system. Others side with manufacturers because they believe safety, quality, and brand integrity must be protected. This division creates ongoing debate in comment sections, forums, and social media platforms. What makes this even more interesting is that many viewers do not have direct experience with either building cars or working in the automotive industry. Instead, their opinions are shaped by what they see online. This means creators have a powerful influence, even if they are simply documenting their own work. It also means that storytelling becomes just as important as technical accuracy. The way a video is presented can change how people interpret the facts. Dramatic music, strong language, and emotional framing can all increase engagement, but they can also exaggerate reality. This is why it is important to separate entertainment from fact. While rebuild videos can be highly educational, they are also designed to keep viewers watching. Understanding this balance helps audiences enjoy the content while still thinking critically about what they are seeing. As this type of media continues to grow, media literacy becomes more important than ever. People need to be able to recognize when something is being simplified for storytelling purposes and when it reflects real-world complexity.